we're a little soft in some instances with this generation, especially, these people like, well, just Jesus does love you, and you still need to know the truth.
Sometimes there's a lot of things that we have bunkered down and just tried to like push in the back of our head and act like they never happened, which really show up in everything. Friendships, whether platonic, really all those things. Like I've really just seen that like we're just not willing to sit with that and be honest about that. He's not just my corrector, he's not just my teacher, he's my literal dad. Like he's my father. And that helps me to not be in a space where I feel like I gotta hold it all together or I got to do it myself because I don't. I really don't. And I don't have the capacity. So
that was really a pivotal point for my life, because I was really challenged not just to lay down basketball, but to lay down what I assumed was my identity.
I think you and I had a conversation like that one time.
Too many times. And at that point, it was just like, I hear you.
Do we need to create safety for people to be able to express themselves? And that's what he was saying. Like, I need to be able to sit with this and say, I'm not happy about this, but not for 12 days.
Meaninglessness does not come from being weary of pain. Meaninglessness comes from being weary of pleasure. And this is a time and generation where everybody wants access without commitment.
One of the hardest things that you will ever do is be somebody's spouse. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Belonging Life podcast. I'm incredibly excited and blessed to be able to be here with two of the young people who I admire a lot. One from a distance. Those of you who were on the other podcast with me last year, you saw I had my Nicole on there. Sean and I have done many different things. We spliced up a whole bunch of stuff, had various different conversations. So you've seen Sean and I have some pretty significant conversations, but I wanted the opportunity to get both of these people together. Now, when I say young people, they're adults. It's just because I'm closer to 60 than I am to 20. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity, though, to have conversations like the one that we are going to have today. And it's regarding pretty much our emotional, mental, and spiritual health. I don't believe that these are actual separate pockets of life. I believe that we're a whole human being. I believe that God deals with the whole person. And I think it's really important for us to have conversations around this that aren't necessarily about, somebody talking about who's in the street or who's doing this or who's doing that, but really start to impact and have conversations around things that we see that people are actually failing from and falling from and suffering with. And instead of just pointing out that it's terrible, what we want to try to do is bring some answers. We want to try to bring a starting point, right? What's the first step? What's the next step, right? Or maybe you're in the middle. What do you do from there? How do we continue to encourage you to go on? How do we continue to encourage you to fight? How do we encourage you to bring somebody else into that space, or you go see somebody else, whether that's a therapist, whether that's a coach, whether that's just somebody who has been consistent and steady in their lives. And so if you're a person who falls into this generation, I want to have this conversation with these two people with you. And the goal is again, to help you. And so here's the thing that I want to challenge you before we get into this. And they're going to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about themselves here in just a moment. But here's the thing that I want you to do right now, wherever you are watching this. If you don't have the time to watch all of it, go back and find a space when you can and watch all of it. The other thing I want to tell you to do is keep your heart open, keep your mind open. Don't close yourself off because you said, I need someone to do this for me because I need to get out of my situation right now. This might be exactly what you need, but you need to be open to it. You also need to fall in love with the process. You can't always just say, I just need to get past something today. There's no magic tricks to anything. There's no crystal balls. There's none of that. What needs to happen is you need to be able to go through a process. But more importantly, to enter into the process, you need to be willing to listen so that you can hear the information that you need. But now information alone is not enough. Transformation comes from application. So in order for transformation to occur, you have to apply what you hear. That's going to take some time because you're going to have to unpack all of the other stuff, all the layers of childhood trauma, attachment styles, religion, tradition, all that. You're going to have to unpack all of that. Now, can we get to all of that in an hour? Not likely, but we are going to give you enough bones to be able to help you and support you in this conversation. So, with that being said, again, I'm super excited to have both of my guests, and we want to be gentlemen, Sean. So, we are going to let me introduce ourselves. Uh,
I was on mute. I'm so sorry.
you're good.
Hi everyone. I'm Mia. I always need to say first, I'm just a girl who loves God. I'm a girl, lady, whatever you want to call it. I'm still God's girl. So I say I'm just a girl. Still his daughter at the end of the day, who just loves the Lord. All around creative. Some of you may have seen my content, you may have not. But a lot of my content is based around, just my general life living with the Lord, things that he has done, things that he is teaching me, and whether it's teaching the Bible or just sharing general life experiences, like I just love to be able to just show that on social media and just to help us all out. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. So I'm super excited to be here and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So, um, she's humble. So, I'm just going to tell you if you haven't seen her content, it's super good, and she comes across um, very direct in what she's saying, but very knowledgeable, with the tremendous amount of wisdom that has come from her own journey. And it's just really powerful. And so she's kind of downplaying it. I have four adult daughters and six granddaughters. So I get to say, like, listen, you got it. She's got the stuff. So make sure that you connect with her. All that stuff will be connected to the bottom of the channel as well when we are done from
Thank
for today.
you.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, everybody? I'm a familiar face to some of you, reintroducing myself to others. I am a son, a nephew, a brother, an unc, a coach, but above all things, a son in whom my heavenly Father is well pleased of. And I'm excited to be here and share this space with you all. Um, it's going to be an awesome conversation. Y'all know how we like to rant and yap and all the good things. And you are in a healthy space to unpack a lot of these things and just have beginning conversation. So I'm excited. Um, I guess if I had to add any other layers of credentials, I graduated from the University of UNT with a religion degree and just taking my talents into coaching,
Let's
faith-based
go.
relationship, all the things included. And it's been an amazing journey, and I'm excited for more.
Now, I'm gonna throw Sean under the bus real quick, but
Crazy.
because he knows I love him. At one point, he was like, "Hey, I wonder if I should finish this journey in school," and I was like, "Uh, I'm not your daddy, but yeah, that's an easy yes for me." So, I'm
Yeah.
glad that he made mention of his accomplishment, and I'm excited for him. But he too is a young man who I think I met when he was either 19 because you were
19.
25 now,
I'm 26 now, man.
26.
19. Yeah,
So
we
I
met
think,
met it when I was
yeah,
19.
I met you
Yeah.
when you were 19,
Yeah.
and he had a lot of questions, and we had a lot of conversations over a 4-year period. And so, once again, just another phenomenal young man. I don't like to say the sky's the limit, but for both of them, finding their lane, I believe that there's nothing is impossible with God in those spaces as they continue to move in there. He's a great orator, incredible with people, and all of that has been learned over the course of time. Much of it on his own because he's very inquisitive. He's going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. So, and I appreciate that for sure. But that's been fantastic. But thank you guys so much for being here. This is just a conversation. It's just going to be us. We're kind of letting people in on our conversation today. So we're not even necessarily thinking directly about there being an audience. So I want us to kind of talk around that and this whole emotional health ideal. So we're going to talk about emotional health, spiritual health, relational health. Um, we're going to get into that from this particular aspect of things. And so the first question is not even on the question list that I have here today, but the thing that I want to kind of ask you all is what are you seeing right now in your generation that you would like to address just off the top? What do you see right now that you're saying, if there was a thing that I would address specifically, it would be this?
You got it, Mia. Go
Sean,
for
I
it.
was gonna say you're more boots on the ground than me.
uh,
You-
um,
So
yeah, I definitely don't mind leading that. I would say there's so much that comes across my mind. Um, Man, I think for me, the biggest thing I would want to address is the belief of this generation. Um, I think the biggest thing that I run into with people that I have the privilege of sitting with and helping through various lanes of life is that at some point at an identity place, we've kind of clinged to different meanings from different experiences that we've had. And because of that level of rehearsal or I guess ingrained
Hmm.
experiences with those things, it definitely shapes the reality that you experience. And because of that, there's a lot of people who want things but don't believe it can happen for them. And so because of that, you constantly run into walls and struggles that you can't seem to get over. But it's not necessarily because the external is as bad as we've painted it. More so, it's the beliefs that we've inherited, that we've created, that's kept us from seeing a possibility through that experience that gets us to the other side of what we really want and what we really want to share space with. I think that for me is something that's off the top of my mind among so many other topics that I could easily speak to that
No,
we don't have enough time for.
listen,
But
I love that, specifically what we really want, getting
right.
to what we really want,
Mhm.
and not all of the other stuff that appears to be like we're heading in that direction, is what I'm hearing you say, but actually getting to what you really want, which
Mhm.
requires a lot of work, a lot of
Absolutely.
self-awareness, right? Of all those kind of things. So thank you for that. What do you think, Mia?
I kind of similar. I really, as you were talking, and even one of the first words that popped in my head was identity, just in general. But I'm kind of gonna take it a different way of just like being able to sit with ourselves, to really be able to understand who am I at my core. Obviously, that's an ever lasting journey, right? You're never gonna know who you are completely in totality. I feel like the Lord is so kind to be able to peel back layers as you go through life because if He peeled the whole thing off, you wouldn't know what to do. But I do feel like what I see in my generation is like, kind of similar to what Sean's like, we want things, we desire things, even striving for certain things, but that identity piece of trying to be someone who we're not or attempting to take on things that we shouldn't be taking on is really what I'm saying, and not being able to sit with ourselves long enough to figure out like what type of capacity am I carrying right now? What do I not know about myself? What have I been pushing down in order to not react in a particular way or to not be a particular person? What if I experience, like, similar to what Sean was saying, what experiences have you had which shape how you act and interact with the world today? And do you want that to change? Do you know that it affects some of the things that you desire? Do you know that
Mm,
that may affect your relationship with the Lord? Like how you look at things, how you show up in whether it's some of us are getting married, some of us are, in bigger jobs and all these things. Like we're evolving, but we're not addressing the things that have shaped us.
hmm.
And most of the time, it's majority good, but also we really have to be real about what has shaped our identity because sometimes there's a lot of things that we have bunkered down and just tried to like push it back our head and act like they never happened, which really show up in everything, friendships, whether platonic, really all those things. Like I've really just seen that like we're just not willing to sit with that and be honest about that. And I really feel like in order for you to really get what God has for you, you got to be willing to go through that work. And it's ugly. It's really ugly work. It's not cute. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. It's something that's necessary, but I understand why it's not something that is necessarily ran towards, but I do think it's very necessary to be able to sit with yourself at the end of the day and really know all parts about you and be willing to sit with the good and bad, to be able to propel forward and really uh, be an effective, person of the kingdom at the end of the day. Not willing to sit with that just hinders you at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Okay, we're done. Thank you. It was good talking to you guys. I appreciate you.
That right
We're
there.
just mic dropping in here. Listen, so listen, yes, both of those things. Identity, sitting with yourself, getting to what you really want, getting to where you are. I'm in the middle of I support this church monthly and I speak there monthly. And so um this thought came to me and both of you really kind of hit on it. And I think this goes just kind of for everybody because these same young people we're talking about ultimately become me, right? You get into your mid 50s. If you're blessed, you get into your mid 70s, so on and so forth, right? You become an older version of you unless you started evolving with being able to sit with yourself and being honest with yourself and asking yourself these honest questions, which a lot of people, even my age too, I'll be honest with you, they haven't done it either. So they end up by themselves, they end up alone, they end up bitter, they end up mad, they end up accusing everybody else for not doing something that they thought that they should do and coming over to their side of life and so on and so forth. So anyway, but then this church, I'm going to be preaching a message and the message is this. I'm doing a series of things there. Is the and the message is this where I'm called to be or is this where I've learned to be?
Mm.
And you see you feel me? Because we have this idea of like, well, this is where I'm called to be. And we use it sometimes we veil it in other language like this. Well, this is just who I am. And you got okay, I can make space. I can make space for who you are, but if that's who you've learned to be, and that's the only person you're going to be, and you're not evolving, into something else and someone else that's a better, watch this, not a better version for me, but a better version of you that's not stuck. That has the opportunity to say, well, let me learn something about myself. This whole self-awareness piece is a challenge. I'm glad that you both really hit on that in various different ways because that really segues into our conversation today about the emotional, the spiritual, and the relational, right? Because all of these things touch on all that. And I really feel that struggle with this particular generation too. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it on videos. I'm seeing it on things that people are giving their attention to, right? Because attention is really currency
Yeah.
whether people like it or not. Attention is a form of currency. And you can either be getting good attention or you can be getting bad attention. And I think that those things come back down to identity. And I also think on the other side of that, Sean, it comes down to what you want. But at the core of all that, I still think that it's emotional, spiritual, and relational. I do. I think that underneath that, all of those things are there. And if they're never addressed, if they're never corrected, if people never want to go to therapy, if people never want to have somebody come into their space and confront them, then you become an old fool. That's what ends up happening. You just become an old fool. And so, and everybody else is always the problem. It's never you. It's always you know what I'm saying? It's always somebody else. Well, no, there's got to be a level of self-awareness, right? So let's jump into this question. You guys have both done work on your own. I know work that you've done on yourselves on your own. Mia, our first conversation was about that. That's why I was telling you I wanted to go further into that today. We can kind of part two on that and then continue on with conversations that Sean and I have had. And so for both of you, when did you first realize that, hey, listen, I'm not actually okay. I'm not broken necessarily, but I'm not okay, right? I'm not that version of myself that I want to be. And what made you finally admit it?
Mm.
Ooh.
Go for it, Mia. Let's
I can
go.
go first. It really is kind of part twoing of our first conversation talking about hyper independence. I would say really the biggest smack that I received was, being able to let go of my hyper independence because my hyper independence was me trying to hold it all together.
Mm,
Me trying to just be so self-sufficient and not ask for help and not be willing to say I don't got it and um the Lord has really journeyed me on being able to say, hey, it's okay to say, I don't know. I don't got
hmm
it. I don't
hmm
know how to do something. Because I'm a person who is really proud of myself on being productive. Like I do like being productive. I feel weird when I'm not being productive. But especially over the last year and even into this year, the Lord has really stripped me of productivity. Um, and I really had to come to him and say, admit it, like, Lord, I actually don't know what to do or what the heck is going on when I'm not doing this, like
mm
when I'm not doing this particular thing and when I'm not doing or performing really this
hmm
particular thing for you. And I was internally just exhausted and I did not want to admit that because I was just so just bent on being self-sufficient and really just holding it all together myself. And not really willing to trade burdens with God at the end of the day.
I like that.
I'm like, you know what? I got it. You gave it to me. I can put it on my back. And I'm actually being crushed, the whole entire way.
Wow.
And God is such a gentleman that he will allow you to make your choices and to let you sit in them until you are tired enough to say you don't
Mm.
got it. And he's more than happy to take it away from you. But again, I always tell people like our relationship with the Lord is a partnership. Like he's not going to just veto you all the time. He may in some instances, but you got to be willing to come to him and say, I
That's
don't got
good.
it, but I know you do.
That's good.
And that has just been helping me just to manage all that. Because really, me just not willing to give up my burdens was me just trying to manage an appearance that I just did not have the strength nor capacity for. So yeah, like once I just really you get to that point where you are really truly at the end of yourself and you just can actually say, I actually don't got it, Lord. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to do this. Like that's where I feel like the transformation really happens because you're able to know like at the end of myself, I get to meet him. And if anything, he's been wanting to meet me throughout this whole entire process, but he's willing to meet me at the end too. So yeah.
So I have a question for you. What was behind the self-sufficiency?
Yeah.
What was the thing that was pushing the identity of I got this?
Yeah.
I got this better than God does. What was behind that?
It's how I was raised.
Mm,
At the end of the day, it's how I was raised. I come from a family that is, very ambitious, but I do know that your ambition can either take you far or kill you slowly.
mm,
So I was raised like be a go-getter, hustle, all the things, right? And I've done all of that. Like I made all the money, I've done all those things, but I would recognize as I was doing those things, I never really felt like this internal piece of like, I actually did something good. Like for me, it was just like, okay, cool, next accomplishment. I never really was able to sit in it because it just didn't feel like it was enough. And then also on top of, just my overall, I guess you can say fatherly or my connection with my earthly father, and also how he was raised. It's a generational thing when there's lack of emotional intelligence and things of that nature that don't get handled, it gets passed on. And for me, I have just naturally had I don't like being disappointed. So I've been
yeah,
disappointed time and time again. That's been my experience, especially when it
yeah.
comes to men specifically. And I even say men specifically because it does affect, I've said this before, like it affects how I view God. Hence why I'm like, you know what, God, I got it. I got it. I got it. You're not answering me quick enough. It doesn't seem like you're listening to me. Or I asked you to come through an X, Y, and Z date, Lord, and you didn't do it. So clearly I need to do it. And that's how I, just operated
Yeah,
and really hence why at the beginning of the call I said I'm God's girl because I remind myself to stay in that place of I'm not a
yeah.
woman to him necessarily. I think when you like go from woman to girl, like it puts you in a different space with God. And I
Mm,
feel like I always want to remind myself that I am still his daughter at the end of the day. Like he still looks at me as his child. He wants to hold my hand. He wants to pat my back. He wants to wipe my tears. Like when I start thinking of myself as a woman with him, like he knows I'm a woman, obviously. I'm 25 now, so I'm grown, but
yeah.
he still views me as his baby, like
Yeah.
his true baby.
Yeah.
And I just have been teaching myself to just continue to view him as like he's not just my corrector, he's not just my teacher, he's my literal dad. Like he's my father. And that helps me to not be in a space where I feel like I gotta hold it all together or I gotta do it myself because I don't. I really don't. And I don't have the capacity. So yeah.
I love that. And wow, there is so much that, well, first of all, just thank you for sharing that. That's so important. A lot of the stuff we learn and that we carry into adulthood, we learned in early childhood. And one of the toughest things for us to do is to point back to the people who raised us, because we believe that somehow we're dishonoring them when in fact we're not. If I don't understand why I do something, why I carry an identity or a habit or an appetite, right? Or I make certain decisions in my life. That was me growing up because my mom and grandmother raised us. We were Section 8 food stamps, welfare kids. We didn't have a lot going on for us except for growing up, I saw the system. I saw the system underneath the poverty where there were literal entrepreneurs because we knew how to hustle those food stamps. We knew how to get cash for those. You understand? We understood how to get money for those food stamps. And it was one of those things where I knew that that was possible, but we would rob Peter to pay Paul, and then we would put other bills in other people's names, even your kids' names, and different things along those lines, so that you could keep something else on or get something turned on that you didn't pay, but then you say you pay it later, and then but you keep it in the kit. It's that's dysfunction, right? So you started growing up like that, and you start to realize that while there was love in that home too, there was also some things that impacted me, be they positive or negative, they still impacted me. And I have to be self-aware to understand why I'm doing some of the things that I do. I appreciate that. Sean, what about you? Right? When did you first realize that you actually were like, hey, I need to really pay attention to myself? Um, when was it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a man. So my stuff, I can, man, layers. I would say the first because it's discussing the first. For me, it was COVID. When COVID happened, man, your boy was trying to go pro. All right. Your boy was trying to go pro in hoops. I was trying to make money. I saw my whole life going in a particular different direction than where I am now. And so when COVID happened, everything slowed down. Obviously the whole world kind of seemingly came to a stop.
Yeah.
And that was really a pivotal point for my life because I was really challenged not just to lay down basketball, but to lay down what I assumed was my identity
Hmm.
in that point in my life. Being a tall individual everywhere that I go, it's like, oh man, no, you need to put them books down. All right, you need to be in the gym, and taking that stuff to heart in a lot of different directions. Really, really wanting to see myself, in a lot of ways, change the foundation of my life financially, but also my family's life financially through that way. And I grew up pretty well, so it wasn't in a situation where everyone was in a dire straits experience. However,
Hmm.
I just always saw myself doing that. And so, when I remember a specific night, at that point, it was late night. I was gaming, put it on pause. I hopped on a stream, man, of somebody that I was following at the time. There was like six people in there. And I had just briefly mentioned, like, you know what, man, I just feel this real intense thought of like, whether I should go continue basketball or pursue what God is putting on my heart. Whether that was teaching. I think I put it in the framework of teaching. She was like, yeah, I don't know, but it's not like you need to pray about that. I just knew, like, if I went down and prayed about it, I'm not achieving this hooping thing. Like, I know that that's not happening. But I did it anyway. And that was a very, very pivotal moment. And that's kind of when I realized, now that basketball was alleviated for me, I was like, bro, who am I? Because, like, I don't know. really who I am, what I do, what I can do. And it was a really refreshing, well, I won't necessarily say refreshing at the time, but it was a real new clean slate,
Yeah.
where I had to just start kind of figuring things out. Um, and what do I do? What can I do?
Yeah.
What gifts do I have available to me? What do I have to offer to people
Yeah.
around me?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where all that journey started into, teaching. And it's crazy because actually that was around the same time. I want to say it was obviously beforehand, a year beforehand, man, when I started meeting you, having conversations with you, and how all that really unfolded for that journey too. And then I think another layer was graduating. When I finally graduated,
Hmm.
man, I had a whole plan. I was like, yeah, we finna graduate, go get a job, get this 100K plus a year, chilling. Um, and when I graduated, man, there were no job offers. Job market was pretty rough. All I had was every day editing videos for my YouTube channel that was only getting about maybe 4 views a video. Living very hurriedly because I had all these timelines and expectations that God just threw out the window in a lot of different directions. But at the same time, too, it challenged me inwardly because there was a lot of hurry. There was a lot of similar productivity. Some of the things that even Mia mentioned, I feel like is relatable for me too. Coming from a background of a family that works day and night, um, and grinds and doesn't make time for a whole lot of other things. That stuff was very instilled in me as
Mm.
well. And so I was in a situation where I had no other choice but to be like, yeah, so I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do the videos and content and stuff, but you know, I ain't nothing else to do. Like and there, I was dealing with the insecurities. I was dealing with the challenges mentally of not making money. What do I appear to be to my family? Lazy, um, not enough effort, not enough work, all these kinds of things.
Mm.
And so that was where the internal work became even deeper because there were a lot of stories I was attaching to the experience I was having that I had to be willing to sit with and to address. And that was a big place too. We can go relationship routes as well. That exposed a lot of things in me too. But all of it is just mirrors that revealed lack in my life. That instead of living in a place of spiritual bypassing, I had to sit and deal with.
Woo.
And that was something that I think did wonders for me. And having
Yeah.
community around me to help me through that was really huge as well.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
super good. So you both have done work. You both had these journeys, right? And this is the thing that I want people to hear is that you're being honest about where you were and then like where you are now, right? Like you're being honest. You're like, these are the things that happened. This is the stuff that I was doing. And this is the pathway that I was going down. And let me ask you just a real quick question. You can expound on it briefly if you want to, but wasn't it exhausting?
Yeah. For me, yeah, yeah. I think not just that, but I also think the tiredness of not only the uncertainty for
Hmm.
me, but I would also say I think when I say exhausting, I think it was exhaustion that I later learned I played a bigger role in creating because of the standard I put on myself to get something correct the first time.
Okay.
So stepping into something new, it's like, oh, bet, I got all this intellectualization going. I got all the lessons. I didn't read all the books, all the things. So this should be easy. But yet, overcoming these things and relapsing back into the insecurity, relapsing back into uh, any form of negative emotions, having days where it kind of lingered. I later learned that was something that I played a role in creating. And so I think the exhaustion really came from more so of what I was trying to do and force still instead of just simply being where I was, being in the process, developing, being okay with where I was, who I'm around, and looking for the abundance in it instead of focusing so much on the lack in it.
I,
That would be for me.
I think you and I had a conversation like that one time.
too many times. And like I at that point it was just like, I hear you. Yeah, but I'm still trying to hurry,
I was like,
and yeah,
slow down, man. Slow down.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Just be where you are.
Yeah.
Just be where you are because
Yeah, yeah.
what you need for tomorrow is in today. And if you get to tomorrow without having processed today, you will get there. And the things that were supposed to happen in process of you being present in today, when you are in tomorrow, they will start to show up and they will keep you from the places and the opportunities and the pathways and the people and the connections and everything else you want because you're in a hurry to get somewhere that really only comes with time and you don't need to be there being where you are learning to celebrate where you are and recognize that hey, you know what, this is where I am, so why don't I get really good at being where I am and developing where I am in this space here. And so yes, we had a couple of conversations like that. The beautiful thing is though, for those of you listening, because I don't want you to think that it was because of me, I'm saying this was Sean's work where he was like, okay, he kept being open to it. I'm sure he's maybe frustrated with me at times, but this was his work where I was like, just be where you are, man. That probably sounds going against counterintuitive to everything he wanted to do in that moment, but it was his work. So he came to it for himself. And by the way, he's like almost 7 feet tall, y'all. So he just, ducking through regular
Yeah,
doors and all the
no.
other kind of good stuff.
Trying to make it.
But Mia, did you have something on that at all?
No,
No.
he sealed that up real good.
Awesome. So, but you both have gone through moving from feeling your emotions, right, to being ruled by them. So what's the difference between feeling your emotions and then being ruled by your emotions? Because you've done this work, and this is where we are now.
I would say feeling, and that's a that's a really hard thing for our generation to do. I know, Sean, you've probably seen that. We don't like sitting in no type of
Oh,
feeling.
plenty.
It's more so just trying to intellectualize it and then
Hmm.
just go straight to application.
Why?
But it's feeling like for me, feeling my feelings is acknowledging them. Like I feel angry and I feel upset, and even just being like, okay, great. Like let's just be that for this moment, and then let's ask why we got to that place,
Okay.
and then we can go from there. But really, feeling your emotions is just acknowledging them without letting them just rule your decisions. Like, because I know for me, I still struggle to this day. Let me be very clear.
Sure.
Um, I struggle with once I feel something, I think because I feel it, I have to act on it. And in fact, I don't have to act on it. I can just feel it, let it run through, do what I need to do, and then it sometimes dissipates. Sometimes I still feel a little bit, and then I can ask myself, do we want to go deeper here? Do we need to bring this up in therapy? Do we want to just pray about this? Do we want to journal this out? Like I've really learned that I don't have to act on every feeling that I get because
Mm.
I think really being aware of how volatile and ever changing your surroundings are, like naturally you're gonna have emotions and things in nature that are ever changing and all the things, but really just being okay with like, I don't gotta act on being well, one, the Bible does say be angry but do not sin. So yes.
Right.
So
Right.
yes, be angry and do
Right.
not do anything about that. Or don't, act upon it. But really just allowing your body to sit with that. Because I do think that for me, for a long time, I didn't like to feel my feelings because I don't like being uncomfortable.
Mm.
I like to get to resolution very quickly. I like for us to figure out why do we feel this and how can we avoid this feeling again, if anything. And you start calculating, you get real logical, and you start one plus one in, and you try to make it equal to that kind type of thing. But really, just acknowledging it and being okay with that you acknowledge it and that you're feeling it, and then give your chance to continue into processing. Because I think sometimes we're just so like, I don't want to feel this again. So what can I do to
Mm.
get this out of here? But really just letting it sit. Sometimes through letting it sit, you just really dots start connecting. So yeah, I just acknowledge it and sit in it. Be uncomfortable. Be okay with being uncomfortable. Like you grow so much in being uncomfortable. I don't like it, but I welcome it because I know that I don't really get much with trying to bypass or trying to get over my feelings. In fact, I focus on getting through my feelings, instead of trying to get over them because getting over them is really that could be a form of spiritual bypass, just trying to like put it to the back of your head and be like, well,
Right.
whatever, all the things. So, but
I,
yeah,
I, I mean, I mean, David says something that we all talk about all the time, and I think we just miss it, Mia. We just miss it. David says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow." There was no way around where he was. There
yeah,
there wasn't there wasn't there wasn't an out. It was through. That was the way. The way was through. And he acknowledged, God, you're with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me, right? And we just don't want to pay attention to that. So sitting with discomfort, we think that's an identity thing. Would you guys agree?
I do.
yeah,
I think,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
This is about my identity.
yeah,
So, but it's not about your identity. It's a feeling. It's just how you feel. That is not your identity, but you can make it like that if you take that identity then and then you live the rest of your life, or that feeling, you live the rest of your life around it. And that's the way that you approach everything, right? But this is what it's going to be. This is how I'm gonna deal with this, how I'm going to address this. So to your point, Mir, you're like, I don't want to feel this again. So I need it to be over. I need to be able to move past it. I would say to those of you who are listening, there is something in those spaces though that we are to get from those spaces, so that we don't keep allowing ourselves to believe that that one moment, that one instant, that feeling is something that will derail us for the rest of our lives. There's some information that's telling us this feeling somehow knocks me off of my center, takes me off of this, that, or the other. But the truth of the matter is there's something that we can learn in all of that. But I really appreciate you sharing um, the difference, your difference, and the way that you see it. I think that'll be helpful, Sean.
Yeah, I think you said something there regarding information. I think emotions are information, right? And so this is the differentiation that I often share in various ways, but it comes down to the crux of this: feelings invite curiosity. Being ruled by your emotions has you moving reactively,
yeah,
right? And so a lot of people describe their emotions as, well, their fear of feeling emotions, and the fear doesn't necessarily always look like me hurrying out of the space to not feel. Sometimes the fear is through intellectualization. Sometimes the fear is through, well, let me try to put the pieces together to know what kind of key terms to use, the right script to say. Sometimes the fear is, in a lot of ways, spiritual bypassing. Well, the Lord just knows my heart, and I'm going to go ahead and quote scriptures off the top of my head and hope that that resonates. But what I tell
Mm.
people all the time is that you know, it's not that the scriptures in and of themselves are the problem. It's that you've developed an identity that has not created the healthiest soil to receive the seed, which is the
mhm,
scriptures that you are running to that can be helpful, but it's not resonating because there's a programming in you that is already filtering that out and going against what God says about you. So we can't just then add scripture on top of this programming and then think that the word is going to do that on its own. It requires your participation to be curious about where does this go. And curiosity doesn't mean, well, I need to figure out the absolute root every time, right? Curiosity doesn't mean I need to get into a quiet space and just sit down. Sometimes that can invite that. Curiosity also brings about a level of tension, and
mhm,
tension builds capacity. Tension builds emotional resiliency. Tension gives you the opportunity to go through your day and just allow that emotion to be present without feeling like it has to leave you to be okay.
Yeah,
A lot of people are not, more people, it's not necessarily that I'm afraid of rejection, fear, sadness. They're more so fearful of it because they don't know how to handle it, not because of the emotion itself. And
that's
so, what
good.
I tell people is that your confidence to recover is what we're building on so that it's greater than your fear of failure. When your confidence to recover is at a healthy place, this is what gives us the ability to sit with that emotion without needing to attach various stories, meaning, and just simply allow the body, the mind to flow, to do what the nervous system is designed to do without maybe clinging so much to it.
So let
Um,
me interject real quick. But what
yeah.
we don't see a lot, Sean, so, and I'll let you finish,
Mhm.
what we don't see a lot are people who have the skill set
Right.
to move towards, right? Saying my nervous system is all over the place.
Right.
So now how do I get centered again? How do I bring myself back to being centered, right? Once again, because even our third question here, and we'll move past it quickly, though, is about we treat everything again as like a flaw in us if we don't
Mhm.
know how to do it, but we don't learn how to actually recover from it. We don't learn those things. And so we don't even go looking for that. We feel like
Yeah.
we're trapped in a cycle of something that we just can't get out of. And we're like, well, my mom and my dad, everybody survived like this. This is what they did. I watched them do it. I watched them move through this without it, but it impacted you and now you're doing it. And so we don't see a lot of people moving towards figuring out how to actually recover. Would you say?
Yeah, I would agree, and it's a mixture of not knowing how. Um, I think it's also a mixture of, especially in today's culture, and speaking to people in my age bracket, we found a way to allow social media to be the definition of everything instead of actually putting ourselves in places to understand exactly what we're saying. I had I told a client one time we're going to stop using buzzwords in this call. Like we're gonna put it into that because we don't really know what we're saying. This is just a terminology that we're running to because this is what we're used to calling things. And let's try to get recentered on some things. And I think a big part of that recentering is the curiosity, which is giving ourselves permission to feel those emotions. And so before we
Hmm.
do that, maybe sometimes before you get into that place of curiosity, here's a great application. I have a lot of grounding exercises for people to engage in, right? So perhaps it's just simply breathing slowly, and it's not witchcraft. We're not inviting all kinds of different
Right,
spirits into your
right,
body.
right.
You're breathing. This we have to partner with the very
Breath work.
design.
It's just
Yeah,
breath
it's breath
work.
work. It's just breath work. Like we're not trying to get you to do nothing crazy. Okay. Just get into a calm place and breathe. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 seconds. Slowly exhale through the mouth for 6 seconds. Take 10 deep breaths. Take more if you need them in the moment. Okay. Grounding yourself can look like, hey, I want you to look around and just list 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. That puts you back into the present moment. Maybe another example can be we need to just really ground ourselves. So maybe if you're in a calm, seated position, whether at your home or something along those lines, hey, let's just maybe take your socks off if you feel comfortable enough wherever you are. Okay. And I just need you to press your feet gently down on the ground. Just press them gently, slowly down on the ground while you're breathing.
Now, a
This
lot of
is
people aren't going to know this, but they're
yeah,
hearing from you on this now. So one of the things, again, I want to interject. So
yeah.
forgive me for interrupting you.
No, go for it.
I want people to reach out to Sean in this space if this is the kind of stuff you're like, I need to learn how to do that. So
Yeah.
you're if you're listening to this, the reason why this information is coming to you now, and it's the first time you're hearing it. And again, this isn't weird. We're not going up and humming with some rocks and throwing crystals in the air. That's not happening. These are simple techniques that will help you calm yourself down and move yourself to a place of recovery where you can hear and keep you from going off on people and telling people like this is just me. This is just nobody wants to hear this is just you. That
No.
that gets old. That means that you haven't evolved. You've
Yeah.
you've you've grown up. Your hair's gotten gray like mine, but you haven't evolved as a person. There's got to be a place where you self reflect and check in and become aware of you. And we have to stop saying everybody triggers you. Everybody doesn't trigger you. You haven't addressed your triggers. But most people don't even know you to be able to trigger you. And so when you have these preconceived, though, thoughts and ideals, you go, I can't be in this space because this is going to trigger me. No, no, you're using that as a reason not to become, not to evolve, not to mature. So I just want to say that because we're a little soft in some instances with this generation, especially these people like, well, just Jesus does love you, and you still need to know the truth because you cannot be transformed without truth, right? It can't. It can't happen. Do we need to create safety for people to be able to express themselves? That's what he was saying. Like, I need to be able to sit with this and say, I'm not happy about this, but not for 12 days, not for
Right.
12 months, not forever, not as an identity, right? Just as a moment, as a moment. I need to sit with this and let me process it, but then I need to come out of it. I need to recover from it instead of wearing it like a shirt.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen,
Yeah.
right?
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I think the last thing I can add to that, because I know there's so much more to unpack in this conversation. I had an injury, a staph infection to my lower left leg that required surgery when I was going into the seventh grade. If I waited 2 longer weeks, I may not have a left leg. That's kind of how deep it was. Had the surgery, drainage, all the things, had to go through therapy. I'm no longer on crutches. I no longer have to wear a leg sleeve when I get into the shower to protect the wound. I no longer have to take antibiotics to fight the infection. I'm no longer limping. I may have a scar, but I'm no longer limping. I have the strength back to be able to engage with this lower left leg. Why am I telling you this? Because I believe that just like your limbs can heal, your broken limbs can be repaired, so can a broken heart, so can a broken spirit. And so we don't have to live in this world or in this space where we feel we are forever healing in one area for the rest of our life, because there is a God who has the ability to restore you. And this restoration does carry a level of fulfillment to it in specific areas of your life and hurt. And so I genuinely believe that in our ability to stay curious and some of these things, it's really inviting you into the unknown, and the unknown is uncertain and it's scary. But no one said that we have to allow that fear to be something that cripples you from engaging in it. We're now seeing the tolerance of our ability to engage with it, partner with that emotion, partner with that fear, but don't allow that to be something that paralyzes you from engaging with what's in front of you,
Yeah.
because the freedom that's beyond it is much greater than what you're afraid of walking into because you can't see it.
And that's the
And
key, folks.
yeah,
That really is the key, is the freedom that's beyond it. So partner with it. Be okay with it. Learn to sit with it. Learn to be okay. Because Mia made mention of it earlier, right? Be angry, but sin not. The ideal here is, and the other scripture tells us, don't let the sun go down on your wrath, right? Different thing. In other words, just saying there's a moment for this, but not a lifetime.
there you go.
Not an excuse for you to say this is just who I am. If something drives me crazy, y'all, is when I hear people say that. So nothing's changing. You're saying in order to be in your life, I have to accept that you don't care what anybody else thinks, what I think, what anybody else thinks in any scenario. It's just we just all have to acquiesce to this is just who I am. That's a terrible way to live life. I mean, it really is not healthy. But we were talking about spiritual bypassing earlier. This leads us into kind of our second part of our question here. Is this? It says for your generation, basically, faith often gets tangled up with performance. How do you tell the difference between knowing God and just being good at religion?
Mm,
Woo! We gotta know this. So, religion and actually knowing God. I feel like not even from what I know, just in general, like religion is literally it's focused on what you can do for God. Like what can I do? What like you're checking off boxes, and really having a relationship with him is really being with him and being in partnership with him. Like I it's so easy to perform for God, but I think we
Mm,
forget that he does not need our performance.
mm,
He got
yeah,
angels around him right now, giving him all the love and adoration,
yeah,
calling him holy, holy, holy.
yeah.
Whatever I got or what I think God needs from me, he doesn't need. Not one bit. Like, not one bit. However, what he does desire from me because of reading his word, and it's all through the book, we see that he literally desires a relationship. Like he desires to relationship with him, like for us to abide in him, for us to talk to him, for us to conversate with him, all those things. It's not about, okay, God, I read the word today, Like he's not a genie, he's not a lamp, he's not a gumball machine. No, that's not how that works. But I feel like it's very easy to get in that space. Obviously, and that can come from a multitude of things. That can come from how you were raised in the church or
Right.
your experience with, there's a whole lot of nuance there, but really it's like just like really having a real relationship with God is being with him and abiding in him and sitting with him and really like understanding this is a ping pong game. Like we're going
Yeah.
back and forth. It's not
Yeah.
just I'm pinging the ball over to God and he's like, thank you. Like that's not how
I
it's not
love
how it
that.
works. And it can get like that. Like you do again, multiple things make you feel like you got to perform for God. And that comes from a multitude of things and that really can come from, experiences and all the things, but he doesn't need it. Not one
Yeah.
bit. He just wants us to literally just be sons and daughters with him, to listen, to be open to what he has to say. And for us to tell him and be open and real about our thoughts, emotions, all the things. Like that's the differentiating factor for me. So
No, I love that so much. Yeah, I have so many thoughts on that. I want to get some other stuff in here. Sean, what do you say?
Yeah, this is man, it's crazy because like there's a lot of thoughts. But I wanna minimize it to this. I'm gonna say as a beginning conversation, I think the difference between knowing God and being really good at religion is what do you do in silence?
mm,
Um, how do you handle silence?
yeah.
What is your relationship to silence? Um, I think that there's a lot of things that are wrapped up in practices of religion that I think inherently can be a good thing, right? You read your word, you go to church, you have a prayer closet, you take communion, you float in every room. Awesome, right? But I do think when you
Okay.
when you really know God,
Yeah.
um, I think this it just invites a different level of. I continue to come back to the word curiosity, but it also invites you to think.
Yeah.
Like critical thinking is very important. Um, Being able to engage with people not just who agree with you, but who don't agree with you, and having conversation without feeling your faith is threatened,
Right.
without believing that you engaging with someone that's different from you is threatening to the very faith in you. Um, I think a lot of times people can run to religion because, again, it's just what you've been programmed without really thinking things through in a reasonable way. And, I think on top of that, I think something I've ran into a lot of younger people recently, especially, man, I also think the difference is not just silence, but what do you do in moments of, I think, when you engage in mistakes or decision making? Let's just say decision making. The difference between knowing God and good religion, decision making. It's not about getting everything right. It's about living life aligned. And alignment does not always guarantee that the right outcome is going to happen by way of a decision you make.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people who are struggling because there's a desire deep down for you to want to do things healthily for God. But at the same time, you move into this huge space of overthinking that either causes you to be stagnant or think that you're so dope that you have the power to change the entire outcome of your life that keeps God from engaging with you, from God from doing things in you through you. And you're just not that dope. You just aren't. And I think the idea
Yeah.
of some of that showing up in people's lives is genuinely comes from a well-meaning place, but I think also has a really sticky experience for them because they feel as if their spiritual growth is hindered in the event that they're in process and they continue to relapse in something that they're constantly working with God through. And I think there's a lot of that too. So, what do you do in silence? And then, what is your lens of decision making? Right. Because a lot of people come to God and, like, hey, God, make this decision for me, not necessarily because they fully trust God's decision making, but because I don't trust myself to see what this is and make a healthy decision. And then that's how we get into spiritual bypassing, overthinking, and trying to wrap spiritual language around everything. And this is how you have people going on first dates saying that the person in front of them is their spouse and they don't know them. And now, we're quick to say those things instead of just being in process and engaging with people, using exceptions to the rule as a foundational.
Yeah. We can be religious about a lot of things. You can religiously go to the gym. You can religiously binge watch your shows. You can
Yep.
you can be religious about all these things. Knowing is different. You can also be religious about attending church and looking the spiritual part. You can even be in proximity to God and not know him. But let me give you some scripture real quick. 1 Samuel 3. The whole story begins with Samuel being with his mentor. And watch this. When he starts to call him, when the boy starts to hear the prophet, God calling, God starts to call the boy, and he runs to the prophet. I mean, to the man of God. And he said, "Did you call me?" The man of God said, "I didn't call you." He's like, "Go back and lay down." And he went back and he laid down. And then he gets the call again. He comes back and he says, "No." And watch this. The man of God had to tell him, God is talking to you. Now, the whole time you have to understand that Samuel is serving God. That's the whole, we don't have time to read the whole scripture. Samuel's serving God. And first Samuel 3:7 says this. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. It's that simple. We can be in proximity and not even know God. We could be serving in church and not even know God. You could be close to the pastor. You could be close to the bishop, to the deacon, to the elder, to everybody, to the associate pastor, to the worship leader, and still not know God for yourself. But a wise person, a sound person, a biblical person, somebody like this man, they will tell you when you hear this, it's not me. You need to turn your heart to God. And this is where I make that difference, right? Because there's people who do things and they think, as Mia was saying, they're performative. And we think that if I just perform more, God will love me more. No, I put this on my thing yesterday. You are totally and completely, thoroughly, unequivocally loved right now. You know what? These are the things that get the lowest views, the lowest likes, and the lowest all this because we think that it needs to be some kind of magic. We need it to sound deeper. And it's just that simple. Just like me was saying, it's just that simple. You're already totally loved. When Jesus said, "It is finished," it was finished. It was over. The thing is we do more performing than we do receiving. And the truth of the matter is if we just receive the kingdom, when we walk in it, it will start to have its impact for us. But we think somehow that we're supposed to perform through it. And God never intended that. But that's what happens when we get in a culture that says performance wins and being still, Sean, what you said, being still. This is what Jesus say. What did God say? Be still and know. Be still and know what? Know what though? He didn't just say, know that I am God. Be still and know. So it's really important for us to be able to grapple with these kind of things, right? And understand them. So thank you both so much for sharing that. I only want to keep you for about 10 more minutes. So let's jump into this other question here, okay? Um, we have in the relational health space, okay, we have hundreds of people that we know online. Both of you guys have reach and impact, but this generation pretty lonely. You hear it all the time. I see it all the time. I have seen more videos of where the good man at, and there's more dudes like, "I'm staying single, bruh. I ain't, hey, bruh, I'm the where wait a minute. We're the most connected. And what's crazy is some of these things have 45, 55, 65, 70, even some over 100,000 views on it. Yet we're the most disconnected relationally. What's wrong, y'all? What's wrong?
I like
Um,
this. Go for it.
Yeah,
Go
this
for
is
it.
real good.
Yeah.
Because boy, I've had this conversation many of times. Um, we're connected, obviously. I think social, let me just be real. I love social media most of the time, not all the time. I love social media. I think it's a very great tool that we
Sure.
have access to at
Sure.
the end of the day. And at the end of the day, I say tool because I feel like that's how you always have to view it, regardless of if you love it or hate it. It's a tool. Um, but people don't know the difference between like like we're connected but we're not known. Like it's a difference. I see that we love being connected on social spaces and we love doing all the things, but we actually don't have people who know us in real life because we're not willing to engage in spaces where we actually become known. And there's a whole lot of nuance to why some people it's easier to you for to engage online and not in real life. But
Mm.
however, I do know that on this walk, it is non-negotiable for you to be in community. And just because you have access to someone on socials doesn't mean that you are in intimacy with them either. You build intimacy with real people in real life when you do real life with people. You don't build intimacy through a phone screen. You don't build intimacy by hopping on a live or whatever the case it is. You may feel it, but that's not real. Like doing real life is what is going to, I don't even want to say cure, but handle that. If anything, I can't even think of a better word at the moment. But we're just so connected, but we are not known in real life. And I think that's why it's just a plague of just wanting to be so overly connected to socials, but not willing to connect in real life. There's so many relationships that I've taken offline because for me, I can't do the virtual thing for too long. Like at this point, like let's just go ahead and take this offline because I want to see how you are in real life. Because I also know that social media is really for me too. I do share, things I go through or whatever, but it's a highlight reel. I'm not telling you all my business. I'm not. You don't know everything about me. So it's a
Yeah.
big, huge highlight reel for the most part. I'm choosing to show the good and some of the bad sometimes, but in real life, that's where you really get known at. When someone is able to read your emotions, like ask you questions about yourself. You can only do that but so much through a phone screen and through text. It's kind of like a long distance relationship. You can only, you can't not see each other in reality. Like it'll only be something in a particular like sphere virtually, but you got to be willing to take it further. But I don't know. It just seems like and I don't know if you see this, Sean, but I don't know. I think we're kind of allergic to connecting in real life. Um, it's more preferable to keep it social based, like just on social media. I don't want to say like you can be social in person, but yeah, it's just
Okay.
we're connected, but we're not
Yeah.
known.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my thought.
Uh, oh, okay. Before you share, Sean, let me ask you something real quick, Mia. Just and you can expound on it if you'd like to briefly. How do you feel about dating apps?
Uh, um, uh,
Yes.
oh, I don't, well, I can't get canceled because they're not the Lord, but, I, I don't like them. I'm sorry. And this comes from a person who has been on them. Um, and this also comes from a person who has been in a relationship that started through social media, through Instagram, but exist in real life. So, the apps, I feel like it's just too much going on there. I'm not saying that everybody who gets on there, isn't emotionally healthy or all the things, but usually there's a certain type of person who goes towards that. Usually I think it's a kind of a last ditch effort. And that was my case because I'm like, I don't know what's going on in real life. So, let's just relieve it through, just being on an app. But time and time and time and time and time again, it's the same. It's really vain. I think that's the best word I can describe it. It's really vain. My friends have had the same experiences. So in my head, I'm like, God is too good, in my opinion, just for you to not be able to meet someone
Amen.
in person. You know what I'm saying? It's too many people on this earth, okay? I'm cool with like a shooting your shot in a DM. That's totally different. I love that. I think that's more personable than just on a app. I think
Hmm.
that's a little different. But I'm a proponent. I'm like, hey, I think you should leave those alone. But hey, I know there's success stories. I know there's success stories, but
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
There's some success story.
Yeah.
So I already know where Sean stands on it, but I appreciate you, and we'll have Sean answer the other question. But um, not that it matters from the middle aged man, but I wouldn't use a dating app uh ever, never, ever, never, ever would I let somebody say I'm 6'2". I got this, I got that. I graduated from Whoop-de Wop. I came from here. I like parakeets. I like Chinese food. I go to movies and all this other kind of good stuff. Because I still don't know if that's even true about you. You're giving me a snapshot of something you want me to believe with no social proof. I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. I don't, and so I'm watching people get upset at saying I got ghosted on an app from somebody you don't even know.
Be grateful.
Anyway, let me move on from that because I'm taking up time. Sean, can I get an answer from you, sir, on
Yeah.
why is this generation lonelier even though they are connected? And thank you, man. That was powerful information.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love the perspectives and thoughts. Yeah, so loneliness, I think, is an interesting epidemic. Statistically, men and women are the most lonely in this generation now. I think the numbers for women's loneliness has only risen over the last few years. And the epidemic of loneliness and depression and anxiety in men, regarding the
Yeah,
society, economic statuses, access, all these different things are definitely affecting various different people. But there's something that you've shared with me that I've shared with others before because I do believe there's some truth to it, a lot of truth to it actually. That the idea of loneliness sometimes, and it's a nuanced conversation, in one lane, it's due to a lack of purpose and options. Um, and so because we have so many options and things access to us, and living in a social media age where we can just hop online and see somebody doing something or living a life we want, we look back at the life we currently have, we don't see that. And now there's a lot of lack that we choose to focus on. And so because of that, we then experience various emotions connected to loneliness, sadness, emptiness, hollow feelings, all the things. And so I think coming to a place of understanding one, and when we say purpose, I don't necessarily paint that conversation in a sense that it's something that you can't know, or that you have to spend the rest of your life figuring out. Purpose is, by definition, the reason why something or someone exists.
exists. Hmm.
And so, because we can understand that, as a believer, your existence, loving God and loving people. Now, there's various different ways in how that's executed, but realize that where you are is actually where a lot of your purpose is and it's being cultivated, right? And so, if we focus more on where we are and the abundance behind where we are, I think we'll see a lot of differences in a lot of people's perspectives, reframes, and experiences. I do think another sentiment to loneliness, a lot of people compare loneliness to the surface things of relationships. I'm not married. I don't have children. I don't have a legacy. I really don't have anyone to do life with consistently on a day-to-day basis. For some people, it's I'm lonely because I don't have nobody I'm sleeping next to and I'm waking up to every morning. For
Man,
some people,
listen,
loneliness is
I'm
connected
sorry.
to a
I'm sorry.
job, finances, I think there's a lot of so I think the person that comes to me and says that they're feeling lonely, the first question that I ask is, well, I want you to tell me what loneliness is and means to you, because there are various different lanes where people tie loneliness
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
And I think the deeper we go, we might realize that it's not loneliness that you are feeling as you're describing. This isn't to minimize what you feel. This isn't to to reverse anything that you're describing, but I do
Yeah.
think we have to get more specific because I can't just overall tell you based off of a general direction or definition of loneliness that this is what you're feeling and this is how to cure it. Some people, again, you feel like loneliness is cured through other people. I'm on the standpoint that there is a life where you enjoy who you are and what God has made you to be so much that your presence is enough, and people that you connect with is addition to your life, right? It's additional to what God is doing through your life. We, yes, community is important, all the things, but if you don't find a level of comfortability in being in your own space and you have to be out every day, every weekend, you have to be at every Bible study and group session, you got to be at every vacation Bible school, you got to be at every, I just, I don't necessarily see um a certain level of healthiness to that, um, because for some people that's an escape. People use church as an escape all day, every day.
Yeah.
Um, and just like you can use church as an escape, you can use anything else and everyone else as an escape. And so I think there's just a lot of unanswered questions in that realm that if someone were to come to me and say, "Hey, I'm feeling lonely," I would introduce the conversation through those lenses,
Mm.
and and especially with an emotional sensation wheel I bring up all the time in a lot of my work. I want you to point out what emotion you feel when you're saying I'm experiencing loneliness, and you might be pointing out some different emotions that may not necessarily resonate with loneliness specifically. There might be more to it, and then that might be how I address it.
That's good.
So I appreciate you all sharing that with me. Um, we're not going to stay on much longer. Loneliness. It's so interesting. I watched Mia's face when you were talking about people like I ain't got nobody. Let me tell you something. One of the hardest things that you will ever do is be somebody's spouse. It- One of the most difficult, challenging things you will ever do on the planet is be someone else's spouse. And why people believe that if they run to this and they quote, have somebody without having done the work of being satisfied with who they are coming into the relationship, knowing who they are, knowing what they want, know what they can bring to the table, understanding that understanding there's going to be some winter, spring, some summers, and some falls in those relationships. Everything's not going to be blossoming all the time. Your sex life isn't always going to be on point. You're not always going to be communicating well. You're not always going to be thinking the same things. Sometimes you're going to get on each other's nerves. You're going to have seasons of difficulty and challenge. You'll have loss and all of those things. I think about the fact that where I'm 35 years almost into this thing, 35 years, and there's been children. There's been now there's 8 grandchildren. Now there's, and I just had one last Friday before last, just had a brand new grandbaby. And
Amazing.
so I listen, y'all, listen. Then the other youngest one, now her and her husband, they're pregnant. And so just getting ready to be number 9. So I listen, we've had parents die, right? We're watching family members and different things along those lines go through some of their struggles, getting all kinds of challenges. These things have a tendency to press on your relationship. And I think that what most people are thinking about having sex and doing it in a way, and this is their ideal of I just need somebody to lay next to. Well, you're just horny. I'm just calling it like it is. You just horny, but you're not thinking about what it really takes to actually cultivate a relationship. Because the person that you are with, listen, my therapist said this to me. I was with him last Friday, not this past Friday, yeah, not yesterday, Friday before last. He said something to me. He said, I can tell after these 90 days, he said that you are on the trajectory to be somebody completely different than you were before.
Mhm.
Listen to me on this, y'all. Even in your marriage, I'm not the same person that my wife got married to almost 35 years ago, August. She's not the same person that I got. We have the same names, but we evolved. There's new things that came up, challenges, and we've had our own challenges and struggles and stuff. Why people feel like this is the pinnacle, especially y'all's generation. I'm confused. I'm genuinely confused. This idea of if I had somebody, no, 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 no. Because there are people who are more lonely that are married. And this is what they don't understand. Than the people who are single and get to do what they want to do. You got to answer to somebody. Somebody got to ask you where you go, where you spend money, what time you coming home, when is this happening, when's that happening, when you going here, you going there. You, all of this stuff is a part of it. What about the kids? What are we doing with the kids? How are we raising the kids? How we do? And then I'm looking at the other friendships. I'm looking at the quality of friendships that people have, y'all, when I was thinking of this question, Sean and Mia. I'm thinking about the quality of friendships.
Mhm.
Why are people not pursuing the quality of friendships to go to the places that they want to go? I'm not telling you to dust off your friend who's not the friend who doesn't have any kind of desire like you at your level. I'm telling you, though, that that person shouldn't, in my opinion, maybe share the same space with you when you're talking about certain things that have to do with you elevating and growing into certain places. Find those quality relationships, move into those quality spaces. What are you lonely for? What are you actually looking for, y'all? So, younger people, younger adults, like these two younger adults on here, these mid 20 adults, listen, these are my 2 cents to you from this stuff that we talked about today. I'm gonna let them close with their final thoughts here. I want to tell you this: if you take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, I really believe that. I really believe that if you do the work, if you need therapy, then go to therapy. If you need somebody to support you and help you in some other area, you need some coaching, you need some other kind of counseling, whatever, find good people to be around. Find people who are doing things that you want to do. Find those people. They don't have to be the crowd that you think that you need to hang out because this is how I look, so they need to. No, no, no. These people have substance. These people have substance that you need. Go there and get that and take care of you, take care of you so that you can live because life is going to come at you. I'm telling you that right now. Life is going to come. You will not escape this place without scars. It's not going to happen. But you know the best way to do it so that you're thriving and not just surviving is to take care of yourself in these areas. Manage this stuff in these areas. And the stuff that Sean and Mia talked about today, I want you to take to heart. Pay very close attention to it. They're your age. So, and I had them on because a lot of y'all like, man, that Negro is old. So we ain't trying to hear what you understand what I'm saying? So I get it. Like I get it. So I have to leverage, watch this, who's in my sphere to be able to bring information to other people. And I have a heart for you all because you're coming after us. You'll be leaders when I'm in my 70s, leading places in our communities, in our country, different things along those lines, making policy, making decisions about stuff, whatever. Take care of yourself so that you're not just somebody who lives off of sound bites, but you're really somebody who has substance. That's my 2 cents. You guys take a minute or so and um, give your final thoughts here.
Yeah, I'll be really quickly. So I wanted to add to that last question. Um, you mentioned something, why, in regards to they feel it's the pinnacle. I deal with clients in these spaces all the time. This is what I found. Two things that are in common. Number one is too many boundaries. The value of friendship, the value of relationships, everybody is walled up and leaning on boundaries to protect themselves from experiencing what relationships will do inevitably hurt you. And so we're trying to use that as means of measurements of control instead of actually leaning through boundaries as a means to connect. We need these boundaries to feel okay. And that are two different things. Don't have time to get into that. If you want to dive into it, I'll happily connect with you. Okay. Let's talk. Okay. The second thing is pleasures. Ravi Zacharias
Hmm.
A well-known apologist who had a controversial ending to his life. Nonetheless, somebody God used mightily.
Mightily.
Um,
Yes.
he said something that sticks out as you were talking. Meaninglessness does not come from being weary of pain. Meaninglessness comes from being weary of pleasure.
Pleasure.
And this is a time and generation where everybody wants access without commitment. I want all the things without me being connected, tied down because it's patriarchy, because it's control. You're stripping me of my independence, my autonomy. I want all the access, I want all the goods, but I don't want to make a decision about you, about the relationship, about what this actually means to the rest of my life. And so what we do is we try to find cheap measurements through everybody else, right? I'll just get a little here, a little there. I'll have this person, that person. I'll go polygamous. I'll do all these other kind of things as a means. And what we don't realize is that we're opening ourselves up through various different lanes of pleasures. And so you thought that doing that was going to bring meaning and substance to your life. You did all that you could and gave your heart's desire to everything. You're not the first person to do it. Solomon did it too. And he came to the same conclusion that you're at, but you don't have the words to say, or you don't feel confident to speak, or you're afraid to land at. And it's not only that it's all meaningless, but this is the conclusion of the matter: fear
True.
God and keep his commandments. And so we're at a place where you've done all these pleasures and you're exhausted. And so now not only has marriage become like, okay, well, then this has to be it. But then when you get there and you realize it isn't, it's brought you back to what all your exhausted pleasures took you to as well, because we have a wrong belief about what these things are supposed to bring into our lives. Finally, I have a nice little chart here. I'm a whiteboard kind of guy. Okay. You might not be able to read this fully. All right. But this is a triangle that has freedom at the center. This light is in the way. There we go. All right. And there's a aspect that we all have to do, right? Be, do, have. Okay. A lot of us think that if I have the marriage, if I have the relationship, if I have the friend group, if I have the job, if I have the money, then I'm able to do all the things I wanted to do in life, which means I'm somebody, I'm of value, I'm of meaning. But this is kind of where we get to embody the aspect that not that we don't fight for victory, we don't move towards victory, we live from it because it's at a B level. I am of meaning. I am of substance. God has made me fearfully. God has designed me to be of someone with purpose, value, intentionality. This that because of who I am gives me the permission to do the things that I desire to do in this life that is fruitful, that is beneficial, that is productive, not just to the life I live, but to the people around me. That gives me the permission to do the healing work because I'm not losing a sense of me. I'm actually still in the process of becoming me. And so now I'm doing these things that then gives me the privilege to have the marriage, to have the relationships, to have the finances, to have the kind of life that I want to live. But here's the trick: when the have and the do goes away at some point in life, it doesn't mean I lose me. I'm still of value. I'm still of somebody. And so when we live at this, when we live at this equation of be, do, have, I really think this is a principle that I've been living at for like the last 6 years of my life. I don't plan on going anywhere from it, but it's really a good formula to suggest to us that the life that you really want to live, okay, it doesn't start with once you have and once you're able to do. It starts with who you're becoming. And who you're becoming starts with internal work that works from the inside out. And when our internal world rules over our external world, the external is going to do what the external does, but it doesn't get the privilege of disrupting the peace that is given to you, not as the world gives, but as he gives, that rests in you internally. And
Amen.
now we get to create a different life for ourselves that goes so far than what we ever imagined through the limitations of doing it in the reverse. And I think a lot of you really need to really just sit with some of these thoughts and considerations, because this is really what and the way Jesus has come to present to us when he says, the king repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. Repentance is not just in the form of us getting on our knees and saying sorry. Repentance, change of mind, because a transformed mind leads to a transformed heart. That transformation assumes process and development. And this is all part of it. And we're not betraying God, leaving God hanging, or disappointing who we want to be, because we're engaging in some of these hardworking experiences. my
I,
final
I
thoughts
love it. Yeah,
on
thank
this
you.
conversation.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Mia.
Um, yeah, this was great. I'm just like this could go all day. But
Mhm.
I would say something that the Lord told me a couple months ago was, be willing to endure and not conquer. I think we really do have an
Wow.
obsession with conquering things,
Wow.
again, to get over and not get through. Um, and I would just encourage us to be willing to endure in all these aspects of our lives. Today we talked about relational, spiritual, like there's things you are going to have to endure. And a scripture that came to mind is one of my favorite books of the Bible is James. I love James. James is so good. But James says, count it all joy, my brothers, for when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, and you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. So literally, how you become better, how you become who the Lord has created you to be is through endurance. Your endurance is built when you choose to go through and not get over. So chill on the conquering. I think we love to be in a space of wanting to just conquer, conquer, conquer. And in fact, I do think, socials will teach you that, just the kind of space where we're so focused on just conquer, 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 get over, get through all those things. But really, a lot of the times God is inviting you to take a beat, and that beat is endurance. Hey, you're gonna go through a good minute of not feeling comfortable, feeling stripped, feeling whatever the case may be is, but I am purifying you. I am making you more like me. I can't make you more like me if you just choose to hop over the thing that I've put in front of you. You know, let's take it back to the Hebrew boys, like I'm in the fire with you. You know what I'm saying? I think, obviously to the human mind, I would rather not be quote unquote placed in a thing of danger, but it's literally knowing that even in that, I'm still loved. I'm still met by God. So be willing to endure. Because you're gonna endure for the rest of your life, so you might as well just get used to it. It doesn't ever stop. But I can tell you there's so much joy in being able to endure well. In fact, I would encourage other people to maybe even pray about, hey, Lord, how do I endure well? Um, because I know that sometimes when we are enduring, we are just exhausted. We're just ready to give up. And that's human. I'm all about being in my,
100%.
yeah, holy but human. I'm so big on that. I even have a subset all about that, about being holy but human. Like you're that, like that's what you're made up of. You are a human, but you also are called to be set apart. And being set apart is the fact that you have to endure. You're gonna have to endure processes that you would not choose for yourself. You're gonna have to go through things that you ideally would not want to go through, but it couldn't be more of a perfect thing for you. And just trust it because it's divinely orchestrated by the Lord's hand. And yeah, it's not cute, it's not comfortable, it's ugly. And but on the other side, boy, you're gonna be like, I'm so grateful I had 3 months of ugliness for a lifetime of joy. I'm not, and keyword, I'm saying joy and not happiness here. I want to be very clear about that because joy and happiness are two different things. Joy is about being able to be steady regardless of circumstances. Happiness is so fleeting, and especially for our generation, we expect to be happy every day. No, the Bible doesn't even promise you that. I'm sorry. Um, but that's why it says take joy, not take happiness. Like be joyful in that. And I found joy in being crushed by facing myself and enduring, which is crazy to say because I don't like it. But it's just so much joy in that and knowing that wow, the Lord really is so kind to show me myself and to show me where I could be more like him. So that's all.
Nah, we need that cash app.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we
For
need to
for
pass the plates.
for
Yeah,
both of you, be do
Lord.
have um endure. Good soldiers endure. Um the happiness. Ugh, I gotta go. Why you want to get married? I just want to be happy.
Mm-mm.
Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Peter, James, Mary, Martha, all the rest of the people that you can come up with. Zechariah, Zephaniah, everybody, Moses, the Hebrew, everybody. I draw on all of them right now. Stop it, because you are going to be greatly disappointed when you realize that that person cannot make you happy. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today on the very first episode of the Belong in Life podcast. I was blessed thoroughly. Of course, I love these two, so I'm blessed by them. I'm super excited for them, their information, how you can connect with them. And I just found out that Meals on Substack. I just got on Substack. I love it. I'm going to stay over there. In fact, I moved all of my stuff over there. And in the process of finishing moving all of my stuff over there, because everything is in one place. I love that podcast, articles, notes, the whole nine. I love it, love it, love it. So I'm going to make sure that you have every way possible that you can contact them, that you can connect with them and be a part of it. And so, believe it or not, I actually ran into Mia on TikTok, y'all. The old dude was on TikTok. And I was like, she was dropping some nuggets. I was like, hang on for a second. Hey, would you mind coming? I didn't, and it's weird because I'm like, I don't want to seem like an old creeper. You know what I mean? Like an old creeper, talking to the young lady. But I was like, I really need to have a conversation with you. Then, of course, I ran into Sean in another program that I was a part of. And so I'm grateful for them. But listen, I'm excited about what God is doing with me here through Belonging Life. I'm really moving more in the lane of all the spiritual formation space. So wanting to apprentice people to Jesus, right? What does it look like to belong to the body of Christ? I didn't say church. I said, what does it look like to belong to the body of Christ? What does it look like to be Jesus's disciple? What does it look like to walk with him, to journey with him, and to have your life reflect that? Slowing down, pausing, all the stuff you heard on here today, pausing, taking these things, because when you're in him, you're not trying to get somewhere. You are there. It's a matter of receiving the kingdom at that point. But we don't take enough time to do that. So then we say, this church doesn't feed me. This church doesn't do it for me. They're not supposed to feed you. You know what? I'm going to feed my 2-year-old grandson and not my 4-year-old granddaughter, the second two youngest. And then my youngest granddaughter, I'll feed them. I'll give her a bottle. I'll feed those two younger ones. But even the 2-year-old, this dude now, he's like, man, listen, I got it, D-Dad. I got it. You're supposed to learn how to eat for yourself, but then you're supposed to live in community where that's where you grow and that's where you develop. And those are the kind of things that I am in pursuit of and working with people on specifically right now. So I'm grateful for these two, and they're doing stuff in their own lanes in a powerful way. So again, you'll be able to connect with them, but there is more to come. I'll also have a link to my Substack because again, that's where I'm moving everything. So I'm excited about that. And thank you guys again for carving out some time for me on a weekend where, again, you could have been doing anything else. But I'm so thankful and grateful that you were here with me. So I appreciate you. And God bless everybody. We'll talk soon.